Hey everyone, it's Vale here, and today we're back with another top 15 solo carry champions video to help you guys out when it comes to finishing season 11 strong. These champions have been pretty strong across multiple seasons, but right now, especially as we come to the end of season 11, they are dominating those ladders and causing so much trouble. If you're still unsure about what champions to play, head on over to our website and check out our tier list to give you an insight and some top choices for both low and high elo players. So we're going to kick it all off with LeBlanc. Now LeBlanc has really been shown some serious love by high elo and professional players, and she's honestly so fun to play whilst also being ridiculously powerful. LeBlanc's damage potential is absolutely immense, and in the right hands even more so. She has a pretty strong lane and she can get in a lead against most champions when played correctly. She has a tasty amount of early game damage and can punish those weaker lanes pretty easily, turning that into a decent advantage really early on. Now not only does LeBlanc deal tons of damage at several stages in the lane, but she also has plenty of tools that just make her seriously hard to shut down. Even if LeBlanc is using her cooldowns aggressively in the lane, she will likely get them back up in little to no time anyway. This will allow her to escape incoming ganks, making her unbelievably slippery and frustrating to play against. LeBlanc is pretty obvious in the way that she carries games. She gets fed, she deals crazy damage, and she's impossible to get hold of. She easily has the ability when ahead to jump past entire teams and pop a specific target in an instant. She can cover so much distance and still deal a crazy amount of damage, allowing her to get into dangerous positions and burst enemies down without much risk of being taken down in the process, saving her from giving up those delicious bounties and keeping those tasty Soul Stealer stacks intact. LeBlanc can juke back and forth repeatedly with her distortion and mimicked distortion and basically just confuse and kite for so long to the point where you'll just end up surrendering anyway. This way of playing completely removes the element of a comeback and just purges opposing teams' mentals to the point of no return. The champion's kit seems pretty daunting on the outside, but once you've had a few games and understand her damage limits and combos, she's honestly pretty nuts and isn't actually as hard as you may think. If you want to solo carry games, spend a bit of time understanding how LeBlanc works and then have fun smashing that elo with this champion. Another champion that definitely has a place on this list at the moment is Darius. Now Darius has always been really strong in the early levels. I mean, his level 1 alone with his W damage and auto attack reset is nuts. And now Riot have recently shown him some love by reducing the cooldown on this ability to 5 seconds at all ranks, meaning he's even stronger in his early trades and early skirmishes. Darius can win most lanes. I mean, he may have some trouble against other champions abusing their meta right now with Gore Drinker being so strong, but to be honest, he still wins the majority of matchups. Darius carries games by simply completely shutting down and removing his enemy top laner from play altogether. When Darius gets ahead, he becomes almost impossible to gank, as unless you have a boatload of CC, Darius will just heal up with his Q and execute you both with his ultimate one at a time. Even if you do manage to take Darius out, his bleed damage often will still take you down from beyond the grave. Now most Darius players have actually been taking Flash and Ghost right now as an aggressive combination of summoner spells, and it really helps him to do his job once he gets outside of the lane phase. Despite Darius always being relentless in lane, he has somewhat struggled in the past when it comes to teamfights. At the moment though, with these summoners and the current item state giving him so much survivability, he can easily survive prolonged fights and take out entire enemy teams with his AoE burst and his ultimate, making him the executioner that he was always meant to be. A crazy strong lane phase that snowballs into a devastating mid game, and you've got yourself a champion destined to solo carry games. So next up, we've got Pyke. Now, Pyke is just one of those champions that you never want to see pick against you. If it's a Pyke on your team, they've probably never played him before and they just haven't got a clue what they're doing. And if it's a Pyke on the enemy team, they're probably going to go 20-0 and get 17 pentakills. Ignore my maths. Now Pyke definitely takes some getting used to. He's not really the kind of champion that you can first time in ranked, but oh boy is he good when you get the hang of him. Pyke's ability to clean up fights and basically 1v9 in team fights when he's ahead is definitely the main reason he's on this list. I mean, if you've ever played against a fed Pyke that knows what they're doing, you don't even need me to explain it for you. Pyke's teamfight potential, skirmish strengths and insane burst damage are really what sets him above the rest when it comes to carry potential, especially from the support role where some champions don't quite have as much damage as you would like them to have. And aside from crazy ultimate damage and resets, Pyke offers a unique way to carry games through the rest of his kit and indeed the early game. So Pyke's ability to all in level 2 should be something that you're abusing when you're playing this champion. Many Pyke mains will rush level 2 first, engage instantly with their E and Flash, and then combo that into a hook and ignite. And securing this early lead in the bot lane is ridiculously impactful, as it not only sets you and your lane partner ahead, but it also denies 2 players from the enemy team gold and experience at once. Pyke can then snowball those early kills into continuous fights in the bot lane, making his opponents simply have to respect him to avoid inting altogether. Pyke can also roam very easily and look to help his jungler in the river, or gank mid lane for free. Due to his high movement speed and the nature of his kit, his ability to catch out enemies and lock them down is crazily effective at carrying. Now Pyke has definitely had his fair share of time in the spotlight over the last few years, but people shouldn't forget about him. He's still incredibly hard to deal with when played by the right person, so investing a bit of time into learning him will easily give you the opportunity to solo carry those games and climb to where you were always meant to be. So now we're going to take a look at the first jungler on this list, and if you're watching this through a time machine, you probably wouldn't believe me, but yes, it's Talon. Now Talon's kit and design has always screamed to be played in the jungle. He has an insanely mobile assassin with high burst, movement, and the ability to dart in and out of combat as he sees fit. If you haven't played this yet, I mean, you're missing out. It feels so natural and also so unbelievably easy to get around the map and take people out in the blink of an eye. Due to Gore Drinker being so strong this season, Talon has really found his feet. Despite him being the definition of an assassin, he really thrives on this item, as it just gives him a little bit of survivability that he actually needs to stay alive and not just continually trade 1-for-1. Talon offers more than enough damage to get into lanes and take out his enemies, but also due to the fact that he's a jungler means he's mostly fighting alongside his allies, who often have that little bit of extra crowd control or CC to contribute more and really tick those boxes that mid lane or top lane Talon often couldn't. Now really the main attraction to actually playing Talon in the jungle is his ability to get around the map so quickly with his E, having no cooldown and no cost. He can literally get from one side of the map to the other, ganking multiple lanes in quick succession without much thought, and this is why he really gets on this list. Talon's ability to get around the map so hastily means he's always in his opponent's head. It takes a mental amount of wards to actually track him, and truly you'll never really know where he's going to gank just because of how quickly he can get there. If your enemies don't respect how quickly you can move around the map, you can literally gank the entire enemy team on repeat. Focus on getting a lead from a few early kills, and then just make the Summoner's Rift your playground. Parkour, dance around, killing everything in sight, and then just laughing as your enemies don't ban this insanely dominant carry champion. Now when you saw the title of this video, I'm pretty sure there's one champion that you would have thought about, and that's right, it's Irelia. This champion has been around for so long now and massively changed since her original design, but still offers the same playstyle, and honestly, the ability to 1v9 is probably one of the strongest right now. A talented Irelia player can basically be impossible to kill whilst dealing astronomical amounts of burst, damage and healing. The way that Irelia carries games is genuinely the definition of snowballing. She has a really strong early lane phase that she can abuse enemies due to her passive, damage and Q resets. She can all in at almost every level pre-6, and then when she's got her ultimate, she can all in again and again and again. If she gets 1 kill on you in lane, you're going to struggle to recover. If she gets 2 or 3 kills on you and she knows how to abuse it, you simply have no chance without the help of your teammates, and to make it even worse, if she's strong enough, she'll just 1v2 or 1v3 when your allies do try and help you. The snowball potential is definitely Irelia's main way of carrying games, completely shutting down the enemy mid laner and maybe even jungler too, and then bringing other threats to the lane and taking them out as well. This is even more potent in the mid lane where so much revolves around this area of the map. You've got dragon fights, rift heralds, scuttle crabs, support roams, and everything else that goes with it. Irelia can always dominate if she's ahead. After the lane phase, Irelia will usually set up camp in the side lanes and become super difficult to shut down. She'll obliterate minion waves with her Q in an instant, and then if you try to stop her doing that, she'll take you out in the time that it takes her to kill a minion. Now there are other certain split pushing champions that can combat Irelia if she's not too far ahead, but honestly, you're not going to have too much fun unless you're just as fed, if not more fed than she is. In the mid game, once Irelia is in the zone and has her core items, she becomes an absolute monster, easily bringing teams to deal with her and taking multiple targets, if not all of them out. The only way to stop this champion is with well-timed and combined crowd control, otherwise she will dart around the battlefield, healing up like nothing you've ever seen before. 3 words to sum up this champion as to why you should be playing her if you aren't already: better nerf Irelia. Next up, we've got Draven. Now this champion has been memed over the years as a pretty one-dimensional, one-trickable champion that either ints or carries, and to be honest, nothing has really changed. Draven is the ultimate Chad champion. He's got the ability to 1v9 when he's ahead, due to his passive giving him so much extra gold when utilised correctly, and just his oppressive damage in lane and in the late game with his axes. Now, good Draven players have kind of unrivaled carry and snowball potential due to his passive and just how much damage he actually gains with the AD on his axes. Now, not only that, but the better Draven players are, the more axes they're going to catch, and then the more they can spam their W. Their W is their main form of movement and kite, so it all works well together to make him unstoppable in the right hands. Immortal Shield Bow has really seen the limelight for AD carries this season, and Draven just benefits from this item so much. This is really part of the reason why he's so strong right now. There's nothing really too complicated about how Draven solo carries games. He gets ahead in lane with his immense damage from his axes and burst damage, and then becomes an absolute unit and near enough impossible to gank or to shut down without the perfect damage and crowd control combination. Draven is one of those champions that can absolutely laugh in the face of danger, especially when partnered with a decent support that can offer some kind of peel or crowd control to enable him to do his job even easier. You want to pick this champion up if you're a high risk, high reward player and you find high mechanical gameplay fun, as if you get it right, you'll be rewarded with win after win after win. Now let's talk about the king of assassins in the jungle, and that's Kha'Zix. I mean, this champion has spent so long in the spotlight by now, I probably don't even need to sit here and explain why he's just that good. Kha'Zix has been on these videos from us before and likely will be on them again. He has just insane carry potential when it comes to being an assassin in this role due to a number of things, but the biggest one being just how much this champion can actually 1v9. His dueling, burst, mobility, slipperiness and stealth are all huge factors as to why this champion is so good at carrying games. If you get a few kills early game, you know that you'll be able to absolutely obliterate anyone that tries to fight you. You can stealth past frontliners or set up flanks and absolutely demolish high value targets, especially once they're split from their allies, and honestly, they won't even have time to react and pop a defensive cooldown because they'll already be dead by the time they see you. If you get into a bad way or some circumstances that you don't really like, you can just use your ultimate and your E to get away for free, making you so hard to shut down, and you can keep that bounty going on all game. There's not really a lot of ways to punish this champion once he's got ahead. In the early game, you can shut him down by invading or counter ganking, but if he gets those early kills and gets the items he needs, it's so hard to prevent him carrying no matter how well you play. Overall, we genuinely don't need to say too much more about this champion, aside from if you haven't played him already, why not? He's definitely one of the best champions to solo carry games with in the jungle, across every elo, and in the entire League of Legends ladder. Pick him up and enjoy ranking up with ease. Okay, well next up we've got a champion that's a little bit more interesting and has definitely already seen some action at the World Championship early stages, and that's Miss Fortune. Miss Fortune's early game damage is just unfathomable. One good double up and honestly the lane is almost all yours. We all know that an easy way to carry solo queue games is to completely stomp your lane, and MF just does that with ease. It's so easy to gain a lead in lane as Miss Fortune. You can farm up so easily with your love tap passive and then win trades just as easily. Pop down your E, land a few Qs, and the lane is as good as yours. Funnily enough, this isn't actually the best part though. Miss Fortune's ultimate is undeniably game changing. She has the potential to destroy an entire enemy team multiple times in games and completely win fights and objectives for her team with one button. Now once Miss Fortune's got a few items and team fights are underway, this is where she really carries games on her own. You think you've won the fight, but Miss Fortune is still alive? Boom, there's a bullet time. Combine this with a few AoE crowd controlling champions like Rakan's ultimate, Amumu or Jarvan, and you've got an easy way to get yourself to that next rank. Now Miss Fortune has always seen some strengths with her ultimate, but due to the current state of the game, it's just that much more potent. Once you've practiced getting the hang of a few Miss Fortune Qs in lane and angling her ultimate, you can easily carry games 1v9 with only a few clicks. Have fun with that one. Now the next champion on this list is Soraka, and she definitely carries in a different manner to the majority of champions we've spoken about today. Soraka has always had a great time sitting in the back line, healing up her allies, and dealing out a little bit of poke damage too. But in the latter half of this season, she's really started to thrive significantly more than usual. Her presence in lane and ability to top up her lane partner permanently with her unrivaled sustain and healing is definitely the main reason she's just so oppressive at the moment. In the bot lane, your job is to outfarm and outkill the enemy AD carry. However, in Soraka lanes, you're almost always forced to focus Soraka, and if you don't focus her, you'll probably lose the trades and the enemy AD carry will come out on top, whether that's in kills or farm. If you do manage to kill Soraka, then her AD carry won't lose any farm and will continue to lane indefinitely unless you're strong enough to take them out as well. This way of carrying on Soraka allows her fellow bot laner to permanently feel safe and never really miss out on golden experience, but that isn't quite where it ends for this champion. Once you get out the lane phase, Soraka is just as frustrating to deal with and can easily be more impactful than the majority of the players on the Rift due to the fact that she can just consistently heal her entire team over the course of any team fight. This is insanely useful when contesting objectives, looking to siege or defend a siege, or honestly any scenario you can think of. Soraka also forces her opponents to itemize with anti-healing, but her ultimate actually cleanses grievous wounds now anyway, meaning if she plays it right and times it well, it won't even have that much of an impact. She's definitely a pretty unique champion for this list as she carries games in slightly different ways. But honestly, if you're playing a lot of League right now, you'll understand where I'm coming from. An easy champion concept, but incredibly hard to play against, and definitely carries on her own if you don't ban her out. Now it's time to talk about Fiora. I mean, this champion just has the most outrageous kit you can think of. On the front of it, she doesn't actually seem that bad, but then she all-ins you with Ignite at level 1 and you reconsider why you still have League of Legends installed. Fiora's one of the most aggressive top lane picks to carry with. She's not someone you'll want to just farm up and coin flip, as she's that champion that thrives when played by people who abuse her limits and test the character's potential consistently. Fiora is the ultimate duelist. That is literally the champion's concept, the grand duelist, so she was made for 1v1s, and she really is just that hard to beat. Her playstyle is classic top lane carry. Get a lead early on, all in and bully your lane opponent as much as you can, and then split push and abuse your lead by bringing enemy champions to the top lane and killing them as well. One of the best things about Fiora is her 1v2 potential. From as early as level 6 when she gets her ultimate, if enemies come top and try and take her out, she can burst one down, then heal up from her ultimate, and then focus on taking the other enemy out too. Fiora's riposte definitely helps her carry as well. This is a main defensive ability that can actually be used offensively when utilised optimally, and this is an excellent tool to turn the tables on her foes. To sum her up, Fiora is just an absolute monster in the right hands. She can really 1v5 in solo queue, allowing you to easily make the difference on your own and win those games that just didn't seem possible to win at all. Next up, we have Vayne, and I don't think I will ever make a list like this if it doesn't include this champion unless she gets a complete rework. Vayne is a scaling hypercarry monster who simply thrives in the late game where she can shred down any type of opponent with ease. Don't get me wrong, Vayne does have a slightly tricky early game due to needing time and items to really get to where she wants to be, but if she can get through that, she'll be the definitive champion in most games. Her kit offers her so much more than just scaling damage though. Her ability to chase down and pursue enemies is like no other champion, and when you combine this with her Q giving her stealth when her ult is active, it makes her really hard to actually track and take out. So Vayne tears through any type of enemy due to the true damage on her W, and when combined with runes and items, this becomes even more punishing. The best thing about Vayne though is her ability to carry teamfights by herself. If she's facing a certain team composition with dodgeable abilities and a bunch of tanks, she can easily get herself a penta every fight if she plays it correctly, especially if she's got her summoners and items up. Now, good Vayne players carry games by assessing enemy threats and then pushing their champion to the limits in those team fights. If you think about the main damaging or crowd controlling abilities on the enemy team, and then you want to dodge those with your tumble and your flash, you can definitely 1v5 once you've got those items that will allow you to do so. Vayne is undeniably strong and can definitely carry any solo queue game as long as you can get through that lane phase without being put too far behind. Yone, the lovely brother of the famous Yasuo that we actually didn't really like playing against either. Now, whether you're bronze, platinum or even grandmaster, Yone can carry you out of any elo. This champion's design, although relatively predictable, is stupidly overloaded, and his mobility and outplay potential are infinite. You go into any stream highlights on YouTube right now and half of those clips are just Yone outplaying everyone. This champion can consistently test players' limits and break enemy players' mentals by not only surviving, but taking everyone down in the process. The champion's got crazy consistent damage output, right? Alongside his hefty ability to heal up and sustain persistently throughout fights, and he's an expert in defying the odds and turning ugly situations into more attractive ones. Yone carries games by simply snowballing so hard that no one or no team can fight him. He can genuinely 1v5 if he plays it correctly, and especially if he's combined with enchanters or allied champions that can set up fights for him, he's even stronger. Not only all of that, but Yone also has an amazing team fighting ultimate, being either used as an engage or a follow-up to a teammate's initiation. The ultimate groups up all of your enemies and allows you to deal insane amounts of damage to multiple targets. The best part of carrying on Yone though is just how low risk he is. You can limit test so easily with your E, and basically just keep doing so until you know you can all in and gain a lead. Do this a few times, start snowballing, and then become unstoppable. Now, we definitely couldn't get through this video without including Evelynn. She's so unbelievably frustrating to play against. Watching your whole team die to ganks because they treat her like any other jungler is simply the most tilting thing on this planet. Eve carries games in a few different ways. The first one being the fact that most players don't actually know how to respect her and how to ward her out. But she thrives off this and then just repeatedly ganks lanes across the map and starts snowballing rapidly. That then leads into her second form of carrying, which is just abusing carries with her raw damage and one-shot potential. There is very little you can do against a super fed Evelynn unless you constantly know where she is at all times, you never split up from your allies, and you always have a stopwatch ready. That's not too much to ask, right? In the early game, Eve definitely has a bit of a lackluster pre-6. She's very vulnerable to invades, so you want to make sure when you're playing her you're keeping your jungle warded and keeping track of the enemy jungler when you can. Eve becomes insanely strong once she hits level 6 though, as this is where she unlocks the best part of her kit, the stealth. Now this is really what sets her apart from any other champion, and it's what makes her simply so unique in the way that she can gank and flank without much counterplay. It doesn't only offer some really creative ganking and pathing though, but it also means that the whole map is constantly under that pressure as long as you aren't shown on the map. This global presence can actually force players to have to play defensively, and if they don't, you just go and punish them. In the mid to late game, Eve just walks around searching for prey to assassinate. Due to her ultimate helping her escape so easily, she doesn't even have to trade 1-for-1 to take out an important target. She simply ults out, waits for her cooldowns, and then deletes some more enemies. By the time you see an Evelynn, you will probably already be dead, and this is genuinely why she's so strong, and why she's on this top 15 solo carry champions. Next up, we've got Katarina, and when we think of Katarina, we think of all those one tricks that have some kind of way to include Katarina in their summoner name and proceed to go either 15-1 or 1-15. Now, whether you're a Kitty Cat 9000 hee player or not, this champion really sums up the word solo carry. Katarina's mobility and ability to pentakill teams with one randomly good team fight is genuinely the main reason she's on this list. Despite Katarina actually being pretty easy to put behind, she's honestly off the scale if she gets ahead and starts snowballing. Katarina loves roaming around the map and punishing lanes who overextend even pre-6, as she still has so much mobility to catch them off guard. She can abuse this lead so easily in early dragon fights or skirmishes, and unless you manage to catch her out first or time your crowd control perfectly, she'll clean up faster than an AP Yi in ARAM back in the early days of League of Legends. Katarina thrives in cleanup situations where she can just shumpo around the fight, polishing off low health enemies and getting tons of resets. She excels at flanking and getting behind teams through blind spots when her opponents have already used their major cooldowns that would be used to deal with her. Typically, this is the rule of thumb when playing Katarina. Wait for your team to set the foundations of a fight and burn some cooldowns, and then go in and punish them for it. She also has a ton of build options at the moment, meaning she's so flexible and can adapt to any game whether you need AP, AD or some other funky hybrid build. She's always got that flexibility, and this will definitely help her carry games in another unique way. Overall, Katarina doesn't actually need that much to be said, as everyone should know by now just how much this champion can solo carry when played by the right person. Last but not least, we've got Riven, and she's always been a favourite amongst the high elo one tricks, and honestly the stuff this champion can pull off in the right hands is just poetry to watch. Tons of animation cancelling, comboing, basic attacks and abilities, and just insanely advanced mechanics that require quick thinking and tons of muscle memory. All of these factors go together with Riven's strengths this season, and they really make her an unstoppable force when she's ahead. Her ability to fight for long periods due to her low cooldowns, burst and self-healing are really what make her so hard to deal with. She can sit in a side lane and easily 1v1 anyone that tries to take her out, and then when more targets come to, she'll kill them as well, especially if they don't have the tools or the CC to take her down. Riven also wins games by just stomping lanes. Due to the nature of her ability to power farm when she's ahead, and use her abilities to trade and farm at the same time. If Riven gets a few kills in the lane phase, unless she gets some serious attention early on from the enemy jungler, she'll genuinely just run away with the game, killing anyone and anything that goes to her lane in an attempt to take her out. In the mid to late game, Riven can pretty much do anything that will carry the game. Split push and 1v3, no problem. Set up and engage a huge team fight with a perfectly timed flash Q combo, no problem. Flank and come into the backline with a good teleport and then clean up an entire team who thought that they won the team fight, no problem. All of this obviously completely depends on just how good that player is at Riven. But honestly, there's no one on this planet that can argue that Riven doesn't deserve a place on this list. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this video. It was a long one, but I enjoyed every minute, and I hope you did too. I hope you guys can find some success in playing these champions in solo queue, and I hope you enjoy what's left of Season 11. I've been your host Vale, and as always, take care.